Players can control what they do on the court. They can control their own actions. And that is all we can expect of these players. These are basketball players at the end of the day. Especially because, like, we saw the reaction of Nalissa Smith. Like, she said it to Nalissa Smith and she kind of just was like, oh, wow.
We've all heard trash talk at games, but this fan crossed a line with Caitlin Clark. It was so bad. It's got everyone talking. From players to league officials, this incident is shaking up the WNBA. Here's what went down and why it matters. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Picture this. It's a tense playoff game between the Fever and the Sun at Mohegan Sun Arena. The crowd's buzzing. Players are locked in. Then, out of nowhere, Caitlin Clark stops and points to the stands. The refs rush over, and suddenly, the whole vibe changes. You can feel it. Something's not right. This isn't just about one player or one game. It's bigger than that. We're talking respect, safety, and the future of women's basketball. The WNBA is growing fast, and incidents like this, they can make or break the league's reputation. So buckle up, because we're about to dig into what really happened that night. We'll uncover the ugly truth and see how the WNBA is fighting back. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. You've heard about heckling, but this takes it to a whole new level. What could make a professional athlete like Caitlin Clark stop mid-game and demand action? The answer reveals a dark side of fandom that's been hiding in plain sight. Picture this. It's the first quarter of a high-stakes playoff game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. The arena's electric, players are locked in, and everyone is feeling the pressure. Then, out of nowhere, Caitlin Clark breaks her focus and points to the stands. The refs rush over, and suddenly, the whole vibe shifts. So what exactly went down? Turns out, a fan in the crowd wasn't just throwing around your average trash talk. This guy was on another level of nasty. Witnesses say he was hurling some seriously messed up stuff at Clark, including wishing she'd fall and break her neck. That's not just crossing a line. That's jumping over it and setting it on fire.
Call her a C word. He also said he hopes she falls and breaks her neck, amongst other things. Then he got to go back to his seat and brag to other Suns fans.
But here's where it gets even crazier. After security escorted this dude out, he had the nerve to brag about what he said to other fans. Like, really? You're proud of that? It's clear this wasn't just some heat of the moment slip up. This guy meant every word. And get this, Clark's teammate Nalissa Smith looked shocked when she heard what was going down. When you've got pro athletes who've heard it all looking stunned, you know it's bad.
Especially because, like, we saw the reaction of Nalissa Smith. Like, she said it to Nalissa Smith and she kind of just was like, oh, wow.
Now, here's where things get a bit murky. At first, the arena staff just gave the guy a warning and let him go back to his seat. He claimed he only told Clark to quit whining. But come on, we know that's not the whole story. The witnesses paint a much uglier picture. This isn't just about one player or one game. Alyssa Thomas from the Sun spoke up about how fans have been throwing around racial slurs and other nasty comments all season. It's a wake-up call for the league. This kind of behavior has no place in sports, period. You might be thinking, well, players should be tough enough to handle some heckling. But this goes way beyond normal fan behavior. We're talking about threats and personal attacks that have no place in any arena, let alone a professional sports event.
Obviously, the Caitlin Clark one was in person, which is rough, but at the same time, look, I'm not going to say that it's all Sun fans.
Think dealing with nasty fans is just part of being a pro athlete. Think again. Caitlin Clark's response to this heckler wasn't just about keeping her cool, it was a power move that's got everyone talking. Here's how she turned a potential meltdown into a major win. When that fan started spewing garbage, Clark didn't lose it. Nope, she did something way smarter. She went straight to the refs and pointed out the troublemaker. That's not just quick thinking, that's leadership in action. Clark knew exactly when to speak up and how to handle the situation like a pro. But here's where it gets really interesting. After the game, Clark didn't go on some angry rant or play the victim. Instead, she dropped this gem. Stay focused about what's on the floor. My 4 other teammates that are right here with me. I think that's the most important. Talk about keeping your eye on the prize. You know what's even crazier? While everyone else was buzzing about the incident, Clark was already thinking about the next game. She straight up said, I was focused on beating the Connecticut Sun. I hadn't thought too far down the line. That's the kind of laser focus that separates the good from the great. Wait, let's break this down for a sec. Clark could have let this mess get in her head. She could have lost her cool, started arguing, or let it affect her game, but nah, she flipped the script. She showed everyone watching, especially young athletes, how to handle the heat like a champ.
This here, he told security that he just said she whines too much and that she overreacted, and he was just given a warning.
Imagine you're a kid watching this go down. You see your hero, Caitlin Clark, getting harassed by some jerk in the crowd. But instead of crumbling, she stands tall, keeps her cool, and lets her game do the talking. That's not just inspiring, that's a life lesson right there. And you know what? This whole incident might have actually made Clark even stronger. It's like she took all that negative energy and turned it into fuel. She didn't just survive the moment, she owned it. That's the kind of mental toughness that can turn a good player into a legend. Clark showed us how a player handles the heat, but what about the league? Turns out they've been taking notes. The WNBA's new game plan for dealing with crazy fans is so wild, it's got people wondering, is this the start of a whole new era in women's basketball? You better believe the WNBA isn't messing around anymore. They're cracking down on fan behavior like never before. The league just dropped a statement that's got everyone talking. They're saying a big fat no to any racist, mean, or threatening comments. It's like they're drawing a line in the sand and daring fans to cross it. But here's where it gets really interesting. The WNBA is not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. League security is now watching fans like hawks. They're not just waiting for something to happen. Nope, they're actively looking for any sign of trouble. And if someone steps out of line, they're ready to bring in the big guns. We're talking law enforcement if things get really nasty.
So are you going to acknowledge this? I actually don't think the Connecticut Sun should acknowledge this. Like, I think it is the security in the arena, which is not owned by the Sun. Like, it is the security's fault. Players can control what they do on the court. They can control their own actions. And that is all we can expect of these players. These are basketball players at the end of the day.
You know what's crazy? This isn't just about one incident. Alyssa Thomas from The Sun spilled the tea on how fans have been throwing around racial slurs and other messed up stuff all season long. It's like the Clark incident was just the tip of the iceberg. The WNBA is finally saying enough is enough. Let's talk numbers for a sec. Caitlin Clark's games are pulling in an average of 1.2 million viewers. That's insane. The regular WNBA games, they're averaging about 394,000 viewers. Clark's basically tripling those numbers. With that kind of growth, the league can't afford to let a few bad apples spoil the whole bunch. Think about it, the WNBA is blowing up right now. More fans, more attention, more everything. But with all that good stuff comes some not so good stuff too. That's why they're stepping up their game when it comes to protecting players. It's not just about keeping the stars safe, it's about making sure the whole league can keep growing without any drama holding it back. So what's the WNBA's endgame here? They're not just trying to kick out a few troublemakers. They're on a mission to change the whole vibe of women's basketball. They want arenas packed with real fans who are there to cheer, not jeer. It's about creating a place where players can do their thing without worrying about some jerk in the stands ruining their night. Alright, let's talk about how we can make the WNBA even better. It's not just about one player or one game. It's about the whole vibe of women's basketball. And you know what? We all play a part in that. Think about it. When fans go wild in a good way, it pumps up the players and makes the game more fun for everyone. But when things get ugly, it messes with the players' heads and ruins the fun for everybody. We've seen how Caitlin Clark handled that nasty fan. Like a total pro. She kept her cool and focused on her team. So here's the deal. Let's cheer our hearts out for our teams, but let's keep it clean. No trash talk, no threats, just pure basketball love. If we all do that, we'll make the WNBA the best it can be. Game on.